So we are recording. So I haven't made an online demonstration yet of how to fix bottom like this, right? I mean, it works pretty well as a planter. So if you're going to use this as a planter, that will work just fine. But we want to fix things. Not only do we want to fix things, I'll show you these two trimming tools, these rasps. This is kind of like the Hail Mary of trimming. It's a last resort. Because if your clay goes past leather hard, this is a really stiff leather hard. When it goes completely dry, it's what's called bone dry, which is this cup right here. And as you can see, the color is different on the two clay bodies. This is really brittle, this cup mug hybrid demo thing. And you can't trim on this as well with this bowl here. So this is a really soft, leathery surface that you can carve in. So these rasps, when all else fails, if you still need to clean up the bottom, this yellow rasp, you can pull and it'll clean up the bottom of your piece. So you see how dry it is. It's just flaking off when you're carving into it. And this bowl here, it really grates like cheese. So you can use these rasps to round out the bottom of your feet. So you can see where all those little trimmings are created. And as a quick reminder, I'm letting all the classes know, these trimmings go in the slop buckets, right? So in the big watery trash bins. They don't go in the remix bin over there just because they're so dry. They'll have little bits and kind of make the reclaim a little odd. So put these in the reclaim bin. Okay. So in fixing this, we'll make a little pad and score it on there and attach it with water. So tools I need, we have this serrated rib. Everyone should have one in their kit now on their table. I went by and put this in your buckets. So this is just a fine tooth pottery rib that used to create texture. So what I'm going to do is go around about 1/2 inch around that hole and just score up the surface of it. And this is where we'll attach our clay patty, right? So something like that. Right? And with your clay, we just need to pinch off a little bit. So between 2 fingers, doesn't have to be pretty, right? And then from here, you can judge like how much you need. I'll probably use about 1/2 of what I pinched off. We'll make a nice little ball. And then I can pinch it into a little pancake. Right, so something that's relatively thick, because that's going to be the new bottom on your piece here, right? And something that'll fit over your mark. So from here, I want to score about the same area, about a 1/2 inch in. So I have those edges scored. And we have brushes over by the shelves above the sink. So with a little bit of water, dip your brush in some water, dab it on your clay patty, and then we'll press this together, right? So just compressing the two scored surfaces, and it'll begin blending. So the idea behind scoring is like interlocking your fingers like this. If I interlock my fingers and pull out, they gain traction, and it's a really strong connection. Right? If I don't score my surfaces, it's like putting my hands together flat on each other, and they come apart really easily. So with all the thermal expansion going on in the kilns and stuff like that, the clay can separate and make a crack. So we don't want to do that. So with my fingers going around, patting this out, and then I'll eventually start pushing on the bottom to make this even. And you want to be careful of how hard you push, because you could push right through this as well too. And you have to do it all over again. So don't want to do that. All right. I can compress from the inside and the outside at the same time. I can brush a little bit of water on the inside and begin running my fingers over the patty, and I'll begin smoothing this out. So your sponge works as a great smoothing tool. A little bit of water. And holding the back with my other hand and pressing down and compressing. So I could take a little bit more time and clean this up. Nice, a little bit more nice on the inside, but for sake of a demo, that's how you plug a hole, right? Make a nice little patty. I can go on the back side here and smooth this out. Again, you guys have a really nice tool that you can use in your kit, this wood rib. And that'll smooth out the bottom, and you might have a little semblance of a halo right there from the hole, but we'll see how this works out, right? Any questions about patching a hole, going through the bottom or anything? Cool, great. Well, going down the list, I want to do a handle demo. So handles aren't a part of the assignment, right? So this is not part of your graded assignment, but handles are really nice. A lot of people have been asking about handles. And so I'll demonstrate how to do two different handles, a traditional pulled handle with your thumb, and then a slab handle, which I would recommend people do if they have never made a handle before, right? Have all these little Frankenstein, like dueling handle sort of things now, which is kind of funny. So with my mug, with my cylinder, I just threw this, I put it in front of the fan for about a half hour, and it's soft. I could change the shape if I wanted to, but this is, will hold its shape for the purpose of the demonstration, right? So for making a slab handle, I want to take a good amount of clay and then pretty it up. And then begin to pat it out with my hand. You guys have those nice canvas rolls that I would recommend using, but I'm tempting fate. So I'm doing what's called throwing a slab. I'm picking up one end and then just lightly tossing it towards me. And it's because of that friction, this side will hit and catch and then stretch with the momentum. So it might take a little while to kind of figure this out. I'm not really throwing it down so much as I am just lightly dropping it. And you can really stretch this thin. So what we're aiming for is to have a handle that's about the same length as the height of your cylinder. I've found that that is a good measurement, right? So you don't have to break out the ruler or anything like that. I'll slice off the bottom here. I'll kind of hold it lightly. I'll make a mark and I can make a straight cut across the top. So I have my nice little slab that I'll cut down. So we have those masonite slats that are also underneath your guys' table. So you can use those as a straight edge if you are feeling brave. You can just make a straight cut. A little bit of kind of random lines and non-uniformity is totally fine. Because what I am aiming for is a trapezoidal shape. So something that is a little bit wider on top than on the bottom, because as this attaches, it's going to be something like that, right? So I want to smooth out the sides. So if I dip my thumbs or dip my fingers, I can run them along the edges here, and I'll really kind of blend things out nicely. Okay. So now that I have my handle set, I'm ready to attach. And it's always funny losing tools because they're always just right in front of you. I call that clay brain. That's okay. That's why we have that, and it's always the last place you look are underneath the sponge. So when in doubt, look under the sponge. So we'll begin scoring. So with my rib, I'm going to score the top and then take a quick eyeball measurement. And a general rule of placement that I like to follow is 3/4 up the cylinder, something right about here, right? We got about half, and we'll do 3/4. Then I'll also score the bottom of my handle. So I'll add my water to one side. Water flows into the cracks really nicely, into those score marks. Some people have used slip in the past, right? I don't like using slip. It gets messy. As long as you compress things nicely, they'll attach, right? So with my thumb and finger on the inside of the cup, I'm pinching and compressing these together, right? So because this is nice and firm, I can hold it in my hand and I'm compressing with my thumb and my finger on the inside and just kind of working this down. I can smooth out some sides here and I can get this into shape, right? So from here, the higher I go up, the higher arc I get. I think that'll work pretty well for like a 1-finger handle, and it's fairly lined up vertically. So from here, to get my bottom scored, I'll move my handle to the side, add my little mark. Grab my brush, dab on some water, and with my finger, I can just rock back and forth, up and down, and compress those scored edges together. So I don't really mind having these lines, these construction lines. I think it's really nice showing the handmade quality of a piece. Right, so if you want to blend these out, you totally can. I like leaving them. And then one final touch, you can adjust your handles however it fits your, suits your needs, right? You can put your thumb and forefinger in there and pinch down, and it'll change the shape a little bit. I like a little bit of an angle. So I will press my finger down and in so my handle follows the ridge of my finger, and that generally works out pretty well for my hand. All right, so there's slab hand. All right, if anyone's never made a slab handle before, I'd start with this and then work on to the pulled handle, which will demonstrate right now. So any questions about a slab handle before I move on? Fantastic. So again, I want to grab some clay, and this is a more traditional handle, right? And this is how I do it. Other people do it differently, but I'll start with a cone coil, and the base I'm going to hold with my left hand here, and then my right hand I'm going to be pulling down in between my thumb and forefinger. And so one side is going to lengthen and the other side, it's going to compress the sides together. So dipping my hand in water, start with one side and then the other, right? So compress, lengthen. I suppose they all lengthen, but the pressure that you add will create the shape that you want, right? So my hand position is like right here, and I'll squeeze and pull down between my thumb and forefinger. And then on the sides here, I'll taper the handle in a little bit with the same pressure between my thumb and forefinger. Then when things get a little sticky, I'll add some more water and then just get this to a point where I want. So that's a nice smooth handle. It's like Gene Simmons' tongue. And but for a more traditional thumb pulled handle, I'll begin running my thumb from base to the end. And this is how I learned how to pull handles. It's a lot more pressure where there's a thicker part of clay, and then there's a little bit of pressure at the end, right? So you want to let up as you pull through, right? That elongates it just a little bit more. And then from here, you can see how gravity shapes this nicely. You can let this set up in front of the fan for a little bit, and it'll dry out handles pretty quickly, right? I like to attach right away. If it feels a little floppy on you, then let it set up in front of the fan. So supporting my pulled handle here with my left hand, I'll press my needle tool and cut into the part that I want to use, right? So just by judging, it's going to be a fairly long handle. So we'll attach on top, and I can cut off the rest if I want. But I'll attach the handle the same way that I did the slab handle. Okay, so with my serrated rib, scoring the edge of that. Don't be afraid to make this look messy, right? The more teeth that you have, the more marks that you have, the stronger your connection will be. Then again, 3/4 up. Take some water on my brush, dab it on there, and that will be my attachment. Okay, so squeezing on, and then it's a little odd because I have that other handle on there. Right, so holding my handle in place, holding my cylinder in place, compressing with my thumb into that scored area. Right, and I can always run my finger along there and kind of smooth things out. Then as things dry, I can smooth things out even more, right? So depending on the shape of your handle, this one is pretty long. So I think I'm going to change this one up from my usual, I'm going to score this bottom here and then bring my handle over. So it's going to be kind of like a open large kind of finger handle. So something like that, right? And then pressing down, compressing those areas again. And from here, you can adjust your handle, right? So if I wanted to press in a little bit, a lot of people like the 4-finger mugs, right? Want to add a little bit of flair, I can push in on the inside. And it's always funny thinking about these little handles like ears, you know, right? So those are handles, right? They're not graded. If you want to turn in handles, cups, mugs for the assignment, that's totally fine. If you want to make mugs, that's not a part of the assignment, that's great. Okay. Any questions about handles, cylinders? Cool. So next on the list, this will pertain to getting work off the wheel. So has anyone had problems picking up your work off the wheel and getting it onto your bat? It's a common thing, right? Sometimes your cylinder is just a little too slippery and you can't get the proper feel for it. I'll show you how to get your work off with a water slide technique. So as you guys are throwing, another helpful thing to use if you find that you're getting a mound in your base, you can use this wood rib and this flat end here and press down, and that will smooth out the base of your cylinder, which will make it really nice for service, and it compresses things, makes it stronger. So if you're getting that mound, try using the base of your wood rib. Okay. So now that I have my cylinder, I'm going to try to get it off. Right. Bowls are a little easier to get off because they're so flared out, but sometimes, like if I squeeze too hard, you'll change the shape of it, right? We don't want to do that. So I cut once already. I'll add water on the back side, and then I'll bring that water through the initial cut, and it will create, you know, a little like water slide right? So water will run underneath that first cut, and then you can twist lightly and remove it, right? To give yourself a little bit of room, pull your splash pan out a little bit, and you can slide that cup or bowl onto your hand and then place it onto your wear board like that, right? So hopefully that'll help people remove those cylinders, because that can be a pain in the butt, right? So even just from this, my cylinder has changed, right? So any questions about the water slide? Sweet. Well, one last thing to talk about before we're gonna head next door and show you where the work is to be loaded, fired the first time. I'll stop recording.